Hello, Matt here from Education News. Today is a quick lesson on how to use ChatGPT in your classroom, essentially how to use it for lesson planning and make handouts. I'm using a ninth grade example, but this can transfer to a ton of other classroom instruction. So for this simple lesson plan, maybe we have a ninth grade English class that needs to work on commas. So we go in, we have this text box, and we say create a lesson plan for ninth grade English. Let's say how to use commas and long sentences. Okay, and most classes will say are 45 minutes long, so let's say 45 minutes. And it'll think about it for a second. All right, as you can see, it starts automatically doing it and gives you a lesson plan, gives you the grade, gives you the duration, as well as objectives. So it starts off, students will understand the proper use of commas and long sentences, including in lists and with non-essential clauses. Well, that's pretty helpful. Gives you some materials that you could use, and it follows a very kind of typical lesson plan outlet. Starts with an introduction, which is pretty good, and then follows with direction instruction, which will take about 15 minutes, review the rules, give examples of each rule, and use the handouts. You'll notice that it talks about handouts pretty consistently. That's useful because we can use this system to actually create a handout. Right, as you can see, it even includes independent practice, a closure, and a form of assessment. But we want to have a handout for our students, right? This is a great lesson plan, or at least it's a great way to start. So let's say provide handout for this lesson. But as you can see, it gives us the handout using commas and long sentences, gives some directions that you can reasonably use. And this is kind of like a couple of places where they say, hey, maybe you need to recognize where the correct placement of a comma is. Sometimes it's in the right place, sometimes they need to fix it. And then follows up with comma practice. And then it says, where do you need to put this in? So it kind of gives an opportunity for you to kind of figure out what you want to do. Last thing, provides answers, which I think is useful, right? So you're able to differentiate this type of lesson for your students depending on where they're at. Maybe you have a student that really needs to focus on just actually getting the practice, or something that just verified. So let's try more practice. So we'll say provide 15 sentences for practice and answers. And there it goes, right? It's going to start giving us sentences that we can use for punctuation, right? None of them have periods, so that's useful. But many of them do require a comma, a period, some other kind of punctuation that may be really useful for your classroom. And as you see, this is taking me 45 seconds. Right, so as you can see, it gives us long answers. It doesn't have periods. If I really wanted to, I could go and say include periods, it would retype it. However, it's pretty easy to do on my end. Or you can just say, hey, make sure that you include a period at the end of all these sentences. So as you can see, it gives us answers, right? It has commas for everything. However, it doesn't have periods. That's a really easy fix. You can just type, redo this with periods. However, as you know, students are pretty terrible about run-on sentences, so this is actually probably useful, and just have them go ahead and put those periods in. Right, so in less than 2 minutes, I have a lesson plan. I have a handout, and I have an activity where they go through, they find commas, they find periods, and you can even use this and say, how would you write this sentence more effectively? So as an educator, this tool can be very, very useful if you're in a rush. All right, there we go. In just a couple of minutes, we have a brand new lesson plan, never made before. We have handouts that have never been made before. And if I'm an educator running it really late, I need something just last minute, or I find out that my student really needs extra practice, in 3.5 to 4 minutes, I have something I can really tailor to what those students need. So if you're interested in this, I am going to continue to push out things of how we can use this new type of technology more effectively rather than just being scared of it and banning it. So like and subscribe, I'll continue to push things out.